Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, technical agronomist for Cooperative Farmers Elevator, and on this week's Field Friday segment, yeah, we're still out planting like many of you guys are hopefully wrapping up here in the next day or so, but the fact that we're still out here planting in June, we were hoping we did that last year, that would be the last time we'd do it, and we're later than we were last year already, so Mother Nature hasn't been kind to us. But planting in June and all the struggles we've gone through, that has created some problems on the herbicide game here this year. You know, between us getting stuck and you getting stuck, trying to get herbicides on hasn't gone so well in some fields, fertilizer either way. So if you got the fertilizer and herbicide pre-plant on ahead of time, great, you're kind of on plan yet. But a lot of fields just got planted. I know even some guys went ahead and no-tilled corn just in the interest of time. So all those fields are kind of not going according to plan, very likely. So what concerns me is planting a lot of this crop in late May and early June. Typically we plant corn in April. It seemed like that was what we used to want to do, but when we do that, the soils are cool enough, the corn will start growing. Sometimes we'll get some grasses will want to come, but the main weed we always fight now is water hemp, and water hemp needs warmer soils to really grow, so we had a head start for our corn. Last year, not as much. This year, for sure, not as much. With all the late planting, the water hemp's going to start to germinate and come up as soon as you plant that cornfield if there's no herbicide there. That concerns me. If the corn doesn't have a head start, we're going to have weed competition affecting that corn really quickly if we don't do something. So there's lots of things we can do, but we need to spray earlier with our post pass. Just as soon as you can roll the corn, we're going to probably want to get out there and get something on. With water hemp, it's a lot tougher to kill once it's up, so that's why we put so much emphasis on getting a pre-plant herbicide down that keeps that water hemp from even germinating or emerging out of the ground. And without having a pre-plant herbicide down, we've lost that opportunity in a lot of cases. But if we go out there and spray our corn really early, we go with something that has some decent residual, you know, something with some harness, some triple flex, dual, zidua, some of those types of active ingredients will really help us, and even some Callistos and some of those types of active ingredients. But what we really want to remember, if we're going to go out and try and spray it really early post and try and hope that's the last pass we make, we need to be aggressive on the rates, because we're going to have an awful lot of pressure on that herbicide, and if we're going to try and make it to canopy, the corn will grow fairly rapidly planting it in June or late May, but we need that canopy to shade that, you know, the rest of the season to keep our weeds from getting any further. So to get there, we need to have a good rate of a pre-plant down, because it's going to be consumed fairly quickly in this warm weather, warm soils with all the moisture we've had. And we still may need to come back later before canopy, just be aware of that. So I want to stress the urgency of that on the fields that don't have a pre-plant down, that we really need to get on it with this corn. Switching over to beans, we've got a lot of beans that were no-till. That's more and more common all the time. Getting a burn down has been difficult as well, with all the sprayers being busy doing fertilizer and other things, so that hasn't always gone to plan. Also, getting the pre-emerge, pre-plant herbicides on may or may not have happened. If they did, great. If the burn down got on, great, you're on plan. But if we didn't, as soon as we can on those no-till fields, we need to get out there, and hopefully with it, it's Extendamax or Enlist or something that we can go out and knock out this mare's tail. There's water hemp already up in these fields as well that we're going to have to fight. So we need to have an aggressive plan and early and aggressive rates. Beans are really going to have a hard time canopying this year. Planted in June, we have a shorter season for that bean plant to get any size, so we may not canopy at all this year potentially, but it'll be late otherwise. So we're going to need 2 shots for sure, and aggressive rates on the residuals again. So we talk about Extendamax, we talk about Enlist, we talk about just regular Roundup Ready programs or Liberty programs. We need to have residuals added to those mix probably each time you're going over the bean field anymore now. We've got products like Warrant, Zidua, Dual, Outlook, all those types of things. Anything that contains those active ingredients would be very helpful to have every time you're going over it, because we're going to have a long period of time that our soil residuals are going to have to keep water hemp down. I hope they do, but we're going to probably need to be on top of this and continue to watch those fields so they don't get away from us, because Mother Nature's taken an awful lot of liberty at making our life miserable this year, and that's going to continue all summer, I'm afraid, with the herbicides we're going to have to play with. So just wanted to stress that the urgency of what we're dealing with now. I know a lot of times when we're done planting, we kind of exhale, have a little bit of a break before we got to start in on spraying. This year, there's going to be no break. We need to stay on top of this because we're set up for a problem if we don't. But just wanted to make you aware, keep an eye on your fields. Let your CFE agronomist help you with some of the programs. There's lots of options, but there's lots of different scenarios that we're into, so there isn't one canned program that's going to work for everybody. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.